Today, would like to address a topic that is perhaps, a bit delicate, a bit controversial, if you want, and that is the role of religion in politics, or better, how it should be treated. Not in the narrow sense of politics, but in the larger sense of human society. There are voices that say that religion is in fact a kind of ideology, and therefore it is a political leaning. It's just like that you're a socialist or a liberal or a conservative. You might say that if you're a Christian or a Muslim, that is in fact an ideology. Now, how would we define an ideology? An ideology is a set of beliefs, not necessarily religious, who the holder of those beliefs wants to see them implemented in larger society. That's the definition of an ideology. By all means, peaceful or less peaceful. So all kinds of political parties, they are ideological parties per definition. But religion in general is not considered an ideology, and I wonder why. Because, of course, the fact that religion has this kind of exemption status grants it protection against the scrutiny or the selection process to which political parties in the functioning of a society, of a democratic society, are subjected. And I wonder why. So there seems to be absolutely no reason why they shouldn't be subjected to those filters, why they shouldn't be considered a political party. And that has a lot of implications, not in the least for the charters that exist in any liberal democracy. For example, in Europe, the European Convention on Human Rights, the ECHR, which lists a number of criteria or phenotypes or whatever you want to call them, against which you cannot discriminate, and religion is part of that. Now, to me, that seems a bit weird, because that sounds like you wouldn't be allowed to discriminate against me being a communist, for instance, or a liberal or a conservative, so that we are protected, our rights of conservatives. We have nobody. If I'm a conservative and I want to push through certain laws or regulations, you can't say anything about it because that's discrimination. And that seems fundamentally wrong if religion is granted that status. So I would like to champion the idea that religion should be scrapped of that list, which otherwise might be left intact. I mean, discrimination against ethnicity, the old racial discrimination, discrimination against gender, discrimination against sexual orientation, discrimination against age, and discrimination against disabilities. Those are those five? I think that's five of them. And you know what sets them apart from the sixth one, which I would like to see abolished? what sets them apart is that the person that is being discriminated against it's beyond their control that they're in one of those 5 categories. It's not a choice, or it's not, or a choice of their environment, the way they were educated, the societal group in which it has nothing to do with that. The fact that you're a woman has nothing to do with what religion you were raised in. The fact that you're gay, the fact that you're gay, I mean, that's nature. That's not nurture. If you take the same person who is gay, who's born gay, is gay. You're born gay. I mean, and you let him born in the most liberal, raise him or her in the most liberal family. Turns out to be gay. But if you take that same person, like through adoption, in a Muslim family, in a very extreme Muslim country, and is raised there, he'll still be gay, but will try to hide it, he or she. But they will still be gay. They still have erotic dreams about the same sex. That's proof that you're gay. I mean, just a tip for in case you wonder yourself, am I gay or not? It's basically your dreams, your erotic dreams. They confirm to yourself, but might keep that to yourself. So that's a valid criteria to prohibit discrimination against. But religion is a political leaning, and therefore it's a question of majorities in parliament, political party. You have a certain religion, there are enough people, they can start pressing their rules or the way they want to see society organized upon the rest of society. So abolish the whole discrimination of religion. And well, honestly, in Europe, so race and religion are often tied up in when people talk about discrimination. And for instance, if you have a comment about Islam, often the reaction is you're a racist, but no, it's to do with religion. Anyone can be a Muslim, an ethnic European, an ethnic Asian, an ethnic has nothing to do with race. It just so happens that the people who are in Europe, Muslims, 80% of them is from North African or Middle Eastern descent. So no, it has nothing to do with racism, because racism is a valid discrimination problem. I mean, racism is really the phenotypes, the way you look, not just your skin color, but also the shape of your nose, of your jaw, or your hair, is it curled or not, the color of your eyes. Those are racial phenotypes. So that's what people are discriminated against. And that's vile. That's vile. Take, for instance, a person of African descent who is raised in a European or an American white family. European family is perhaps a better, so an indigenous family. If they speak, they talk, they're just like anybody else. They have no foreign culture, or of course not. They're raised here. But if they are discriminated against, that's true racism. For me, that's the most vile thing that you can imagine. No, so that's racism. But somebody who is of African descent and who is Muslim, and somebody makes a comment about him being Muslim or the way he behaves, that's against religion, and religion is an ideology. It's a set of how to behave, a set of rules for our people, and it's also tied into culture. So culture is tied in closely to religion, and then again, that's something that's caused by nurture, not by nature, and so therefore should also not be subject to discrimination and anti-discrimination laws. Unless, of course, It it has some special kind of status because it's very rare. It's protected UNESCO cultural item, and perhaps yes, but for the rest, it's also a political thing. So it belongs. Its rights, just like the rights of religion, should be defended in Parliament by the faction that represents that religion or that culture, not by anti-discrimination laws. And I would take it a step further. I would say that in a liberal democracy, just to make sure that we're so liberal does not in the sense of it's not the meaning that the Americans have a liberal. Liberal is a political leaning in the States, but in the term liberal democracy, the word liberal democracy means not just a democracy, because democracies, there are plenty in the world. China is a democracy. Russia is a democracy. Even North Korea is a democracy. You have a democracy as soon as there are elections. Don't talk about how these elections, but people go to booths and put in it. Then you have elections and then you have democracy. Liberal democracy is, of course, a layer on top. And that's what, when we talk about democracy, it's actually liberal democracy. One of the hallmarks of liberal democracy or markers is, of course, free and fair elections. I'm going to call a few civil liberties. So the right to free speech, the right to organize your political party, to the right to peaceful protest, the right to organization in general. Those are the civil liberties. That's another pillar of liberal democracies. Another one is, the freedom of press. That flows out of the freedom of speech. But there's something special also. The freedom of press is also no monopoly of press. Because what's the point of having a free press when there is only one press, which is possibly state-controlled? So there shouldn't be a monopoly in the press. That's a nice way to hide an autocracy. Have no competition in journalism and in free press, quote unquote. And then there are, of course, the anti-discrimination things. And so I would propose to keep those 5. And then explicitly to prohibit any political party, which includes a religion, that flies in the face of everything I've said before. So, for instance, if you have a religion, a political party that doesn't like homosexuals, LGBTQ, sorry, you're not accepted as a political party. And that may sound not democratic at all. That sounds like a limitation of the freedom of speech. And that could be true, but then I would like to refer to the works of Karl Popper, an Austrian-British political scientific philosopher of the 50s. And he said, well, he observed how Hitler came to power using democracy. And he concluded after the war that there should be something called the paradox of tolerance. There is something called the paradox of tolerance, which means that a democracy, a liberal democracy, which prides itself on tolerance towards all kinds of political views, everybody should, as soon as there is one political view that opposes that tolerance, that is intolerant, in other words, then democracy should be intolerant too. Because otherwise, it will be gone in a few years. So that's the paradox of tolerance. So liberal society is tolerant, but should be intolerant to intolerance. And what is intolerance? If you don't like the civil liberties, freedom of speech, if you peaceful protests, then your party is intolerant. You should be tolerant of other people's political views. And also, you should be tolerant of the majority, because that's the definition of a democracy. But that majority is, by definition, always temporarily till the next elections. If those next elections are not there, then there is a problem. So just to come back to, well, the premise of this little video, that religion should in fact be considered a political movement. And certainly the more formal religions in the world, like Islam, like Christianity, or its denominations, Catholicism or Calvinism, Protestantism, Reformed, and stuff. So they're just political parties, and if they get a majority, then okay, then the society will be more steered towards that, but only if they have a majority. That's democracy. So yeah, I hope that was helpful. I think I had something else to say, but that'll be then for next time. Thank you for watching, and see you next time. Bye-bye.